Welcome. My guest today is Christian DeVito. He's an executive vice president of IX Solutions Insurance. His company helps businesses attract and retain talented employees using employee benefits. They design comprehensive benefit packages for small to mid-sized companies using health insurance, voluntary benefits, and tax advantage accounts. Welcome, Christian.
Thank you very much, Denise. Appreciate it.
One of the things that business owners have to grapple with is how to attract and retain the best employees for what they do. And it's harder these days than ever since some people do not want to work in person. They don't want to. They're okay with working totally remote, and so they have all of these needs that over COVID, many companies had put up with or given into or whatever in order to attract the talent. But one of the big standbys is in the area of insurance and building other things that would attract these different employees as benefits. So hence, this is why I have Christian on. He is an expert in this area, and I wanted to ask him some questions that I think you as viewers would really like to know the answers to. So, Kristen, how do companies use employee benefits to attract and retain employees?
Yeah, it's a great question, something that a lot of employers do kind of struggle with. And so, that's something that we like to focus on is making sure that an employer is offering rich benefits to their employees. And so sometimes an employee will actually take a lower salary if they know that the benefits are going to be richer, because that's how much they actually value these types of health benefits. And so the way that we like to approach that is by actually customizing the benefits based on the employee demographics. And so, depending on, what the company is what type of employees they're looking to hire or retain is the type of benefits that they're going to offer them. And I think a big part of that as well is making sure that the employees understand the benefits that are being offered, because if they don't understand them, they're not going to value them. You could offer the best benefits package to an employee, but if they are not understanding exactly what those benefits do and how they can help them and their family, they're not going to value them as much. So understanding what the employees want and ultimately what the type of employees that the employer is trying to attract. And so we sit down and analyze that, and really just being able to offer a rich benefits package to the employees is the best way that we see employers really attracting and retaining those employees. And that can mean different things to each, different scenario, but ultimately offering a rich benefits package.
So it sounds like what you do is based upon what each company that comes into you, what they need, and it may be different from place to place. Is that right?
Yes, exactly. So, like I mentioned that, if there's a younger demographic of employees, they may be offering different types of benefits that are maybe more mental health benefits. Maybe there's pet insurance is a popular benefit that we see being offered. They may just want a cheaper plan, so a cheaper, a higher deductible plan that is not as expensive. Where if you have employees that are have families, are on an older demographic, they may be looking for those richer benefits. So we want to make sure that we structure the benefits package correctly to really focus on the types of employees that are working within the company. But also, if there are, I think, there's several generations in the workforce right now. So we want to make sure we're offering a benefits package that does tailor to every one of those employees.
How are companies offering attractive benefit packages while still like controlling their cost? Cost is a big thing with all of the inflation out there, and companies have to watch their cash flow.
Yeah, that's because it is easy to say, hey, we just want to offer rich benefits, but obviously those rich benefits come with a price tag, right? And so the way that we see companies still being able to offer, rich benefits, so better than the benchmark or the competitors, are making sure that they structure their contribution strategies correctly. And so what I mean by that is, there you may have a higher deductible plan, and knowing that's going to be more out-of-pocket exposure for the employees, some employee may choose to enroll with that because it does have a lower contribution on their end. And so giving them different options, different plan options to offer to the employees, and making sure the contribution structure is in favor for those employees. And then if an employee wants to, they can either buy up or take a lower plan depending on the contribution strategy. So that's one side of it on the health insurance side, and just the main benefits. And then the other side is making sure that the employer is offering what we consider voluntary benefits. So voluntary benefits are benefits that are being offered to the employees by that company, but it's still the employee's responsibility to pay for those benefits. And the reason why an employee would still want to offer that is because when they get their benefits through a company or underneath a company or their employer, those benefits are going to be better benefits than they can get just on their own as an individual. So the employer being that kind of hub and that access point for those benefits is a great benefit for the employee. Even though that they are paying for those, the cost is going to be cheaper or less expensive than if they went on their own, and better coverage. So the employer can offer really a rich benefits package by offering, medical, dental, vision, life, disability to an employee, saying, hey, this is kind of a la carte. Which benefits do you want? And then if the employee chooses to enroll, they can. It's just up to they may be paying a larger portion of that cost, but it's still a better benefit than they would be able to get if they weren't part of that company.
So it allows them to kind of choose what benefits that they would want to have, or what's of value to them, as long as it's set up by the company. Is that how it works?
Exactly. The company is essentially that like marketplace. And so the company decides which benefits they want to make available to their employees. And then come that open enrollment period, or when they bring on a new hire, the employee then has the option to choose which benefits they want to enroll into.
What are newer health insurance products or strategies that companies are using now?
So what we've been seeing in the past couple of years, especially for the small to mid-sized companies, is going to be what we call level funded plans. And so, if you're a smaller mid-sized company, especially a company that's under, say, 50 employees, with the Affordable Care Act, the ACA, the rates that they get really just depend on the age of their members. So it doesn't matter how healthy or unhealthy an employee is, the rate is strictly based on their age, which is a great solution for an employee that may have not favorable health risk. But because the carriers cannot look at the actual medical history, those rates just tend to be higher. And unfortunately, the older you are, the higher the rates are. And so what level funded does actually gets a better look at the actual overall risk of the company, and is able to provide a rate based off the risk, which we typically are seeing around 20 to 25% savings compared to the normal ACA plans. And so that's they've been around for a few years now, but they're really starting to pick up pace. And a lot of companies are really starting to find them valuable, because the other benefit of the level funded plans is if the company is essentially runs better than expected based off of the risk, they actually get a portion of that, like the surplus, back. So when a company was just on the age rates, it didn't matter how healthy or unhealthy their employees were, they just would pay the age rate, and then the next year they would most likely get a renewal increase, and they'd have to pay that. With the level funded plans, you can actually have some type of control over what the renewal will look like based off of how the employees are going to the doctor, being smart consumers of health insurance. Obviously, you cannot control the risk for employees, but it does give you better insights and more transparency as to why am I paying these types of rates. And if it does look too risky, you can always go back to those the ACA plans. And so level funded plans have been very popular, and probably even more recently, what we call copay-only plans. And so there's no deductibles, no co-insurance, and these plans have been around for a few years, but for significantly larger companies, like up to a couple hundred, a couple thousand employees, but for they're being brought down to the smaller business market. And so you're able to, it helps with to simplify health insurance because, if I need to go get my a knee replacement or some type of surgery, it's a copay only plan. So you know exactly how much that's going to cost you out of pocket. As opposed to when you go to a hospital for any type of service, you have no idea what you're going to be paying. And so it brings more transparency to the employee, but also helps, control where you would like to go, which doctor do you want to see? Because each doctor also has a specific copay, and the doctors that actually have better results because they know that the employee or the member is not going to have to come back to the doctor for maybe another surgery. Those doctors actually have lower copays. So they're actually trying to guide to the better doctors. But let's say that your doctor does have a higher copay that you've been seeing for a few years, has a higher copay than others. That's fine. You can still go to that doctor. It's just giving you that choice. So the copay only plans have been very popular. And then, but we typically, and what I'm a big believer is health reimbursement arrangements. And that's one of those tax advantage accounts. And so a health reimbursement arrangement, really, our company vision is to bring more control back to the employer regarding their health insurance. And the health reimbursement arrangement really helps do that because you're able to lower the cost of actual health insurance while actually keeping the coverage at a competitive type of coverage by implementing an HRA into the plan. And so we've got a couple of case studies that we've done for companies that have really taken advantage of the health reimbursement arrangements.
So that's really a combination of using available insurance plus using an add-on plan where the company actually will reimburse employees up to a certain amount. Thereby, with coupling those together, it generally makes your overall cost lower. Is that right?
Yeah, that's ultimately what we're trying to get to is lower the cost. And so with the level funded plans, the copay only plans, adding an HRA on top of either one of those is really a great strategy to ultimately help control that cost, bring more control back to the employer, as opposed to just seeing renewals increase every year and not knowing why, and which ultimately gives the employee a better experience because the lower the cost for the employer, typically we see the lower cost for the employee.
What are some common challenges companies face when choosing health insurance and benefit packages? And how do you help them to overcome the challenges that they have?
Yeah, so as we talked about, the most common challenge is just being the rising cost of insurance. And so, one of the strategies, as I mentioned, is level funded plans because a lot of businesses have not heard of level funded plans. And if they have heard of them, they probably heard of them 5 years ago when they were just brand new and people weren't as feeling accustomed and comfortable with those. And so we're really on a mission to help spread the word on these level funded plans because it's a great solution for small to mid-sized companies. So level funded plans is a huge way that we're able to help the rising cost of insurance, as well as putting in those health reimbursement arrangements. The other common challenge we see is just rising out-of-pocket levels. So, it'd be nice if seeing the insurance costs rise every year, it'd be nice to say, oh, well, the reason why is because the plans are actually getting better. But what we're seeing is the cost is increasing, but also the plans are not getting any better. So we see that deductibles and out-of-pockets just continue to rise every year. And so, what do you do with that? So that's where the health reimbursement arrangement comes in to be able to kind of lower that out-of-pocket exposure for the employee and not taking on so much risk. But also the supplemental health plans or voluntary health plans are great as well. And so what those are is, that if you have a high deductible plan, you're able to file, let's get say an accident plan or a hospital plan, where if you do get injured, the plan will actually pay you some type of a cash benefit depending on the injury. So you have cash in hand to help pay with those out-of-pocket expenses. So as the deductibles and out-of-pockets rise, we see very common to put in those types of supplemental health plans to help with the out-of-pocket exposure. And then really the last thing that we see is, or I shouldn't say last thing, but another common challenge is just the lack of education for the benefits that are being offered to the employees. As I mentioned before, with the value of the benefits, an employee can't truly value them if they don't understand them. And so we help with doing open enrollment presentations for all the employees and make sure that they know what type of benefits that they're being offered through their employer. And then we also do have a team of dedicated account managers as well. So we do start working with a company, we have an account manager that's able to work with the employer, whether it's the HR manager or anybody that's really overseeing the benefits within the company, but also be a resource for the actual employees as well. Because we don't expect the employer to be the expert in this industry. That's not their main job. It's not their main focus. And so if an employee does have a question and needs to be educated on the benefits, that's where my company does step in and help make sure that the employees are educated.
That's a real benefit to employees because not only is this a confusing topic or area of discussion for employees, but it also is for employers. They can't always say it the way you would say it in describing it. So having you there, periodically, and especially with new hires, and maybe 6 months later to be able to go over these things again really helps to cement what the benefits are and how they best can use the benefits. And from the company standpoint, to hopefully be able to keep the costs in line based upon the plans that you set up.
Yeah, you nailed it, Denise. It's not our clients. That's is not their main focus, and so we'll take that off of their plate to make sure that the employees are having the best experience that they can.
Can you share a success story or an example of how your brokerage has positively impacted a client's company, employee satisfaction, and retention?
Yeah, so I'd probably refer back to that health reimbursement arrangement that we put in for one of our clients, because this client was getting a 30% increase year over year, and that's just not sustainable to be able to just constantly be paying more for their health insurance at that type of rate. And so what we looked at, this particular client of ours had and I actually do have a case study on this as well, and be happy to provide or share that. But this is this client of ours had a very rich plan. They wanted to make sure that they were taking care of their employees and make sure that if they bring on a new hire, that employee and their family is having great health insurance coverage. So they had a very low deductible and low out-of-pocket plan, which is amazing and a great benefit by that employer. But by increasing 30% year over year, it was hard for them to sustain that. And so they were in that kind of battle of, do we continue to eat that increase, or do we look at having the employees, by lowering our costs, we would have to raise our deductible and out of pocket, but they didn't want to give more exposure to their employees. And so what we looked at was adding on that health reimbursement arrangement and increasing their deductible and out of pocket level significantly, really to as high as we could, which is the lowest monthly premium for that plan. And so by doing that, we were able to save, it was $500,000 in premiums for that employer. And so like, oh, this is great, and saving $500,000, but our employees just went from a very low deductible and out of pocket to a very high deductible and out of pocket. We don't want to give that to our employees. And so that's where then we put the health reimbursement arrangement on to that plan. So any claim that happened, so previously when they had it was around a $250 deductible, the employee would have to first meet that deductible, and they would, before the insurance kicked in, where the employer agreed to reimburse every out-of-pocket cost for that employee. And so the employee went to the doctor, they would pay $100 out of pocket. The employer would then reimburse that $100 to make them whole. And so by having that health reimbursement arrangement on that high deductible plan, it actually took away all the employees' out-of-pocket costs, because anything that they paid out of pocket, the employer would reimburse. And the cost it was to actually reimburse, essentially self-insure that higher deductible out of pocket, was lower than the savings. They had about $500,000, and they would only be paying out around, a couple $100,000 in reimbursements if the employees did need to use that. And so that's the best part of a health reimbursement arrangement is it's not
Mhm.
an agreement where they are going to pay everything that they set aside. It's only if the employees need to use it. And so the employer was actually able to save at the end of the day $300,000 by increasing their deductible, putting that health reimbursement arrangement on that, and then ultimately save money, and then we're able to actually give the employees a better benefit. And so by giving the employees a better benefit at a lower cost, that's really how they were able to really continue to make sure that the employees that they have were happy with their benefits. And also it's a great technique for them to constantly attract new employees by saying, you're going to have affordable health insurance with zero out-of-pocket costs for you and your family.
Those are pretty rich benefits to offer to employees. Most of the time, I don't see, no deductibles at all.
Mm-hmm.
And you really have limited the risk because you got the insurance to kick in if it's over the deductible amount. So if you have someone in your group of employees that has to use it because they have a stroke or they have a long-term problem, you still are protecting the company while still
Mm-hmm.
offering the rich benefits to the employees. I think that's a great result.
Yeah, they were very happy with being able to do that, but ultimately this company, as I mentioned before, is really focused on their employees, and so being able to take their care of their employees was a really big benefit for them.
Well, I think more companies need to be looking at what's best for their employees versus not only themselves. Of course, they have to look at cash
Mm-hmm.
flow, but
Yep,
if they're going to attract A players need to have the things that are better than the other companies that they had gone to work for. So it's a win-win if you look at it that way.
definitely, and also companies think that they need to be these large, massive companies to be able to offer these affordable benefits, and by different strategies and different types of plans, our goal is really to help the small to mid-sized company offer large company type of benefits.
Thank you for watching. Please contact our guest, Christian DeVito, Executive Vice President of IX Solutions, with any insurance needs you may have.